Hi, hello, how are you? Hello and welcome back to my channel for my October TBR. I never do TBRs because I'm a little bit of a mood reader, but last month for the Magical Readathon I set one, obviously, to complete the prompts, and I tried out this technique that I'd heard Erin, I'll put her tag right here, talk about in an Instagram story of hers like sometime last year, that a friend of hers had helped her set up her books by figuring out what she wanted to read, how many days of the month there were, how many like total pages there were for the books, and then she did some math and it told her how many pages per day she needed to read in order to finish all of those books. And I've since found out that on Instagram it's kind of been coined as the hashtag Angie way. I will leave the link for the creator of sorts down below. This girl Angie goes into a lot more depth on her Instagram about how she uses this method, which is, like I said, to figure out which books you want to read, total up the number of pages, divide the number of pages by how many days in the month there are, and you get how many pages you would need to read per month. So I have 8 books to read this month. I'm reading my 7th book for September right now, which is the most books that I have read the entire year in one month. In January, I read 6 books, but I kind of credit that to the fact that I started one book in December and finished it on January 1st. And the only other time that I've ever read more than that was last November, when I read the entire A Series of Unfortunate Events books, but they're all middle grade and under 400 pages, or 300 actually, so I don't really count that. But I have 8 books set for this month. I originally said I was going to do 6, and then I was like, oh wait, I really want to read that one too. And I was like, and this one is so small that I just have to read it also. So we ended up with 8 books, and I am going to share them with you now. So the first book that I plan to read, I also plan to read in one sitting, and that's Poison for Breakfast by Lemony Snicket. If you don't know, Lemony Snicket is the author of A Series of Unfortunate Events. The actual author is Daniel Handler. He has an Instagram. He's the actual author of this series, but he writes from the perspective of Lemony Snicket, who is a character in Series of Unfortunate Events. And if you've seen the show, I know in one of the episodes when we get to meet and learn more about Lemony Snicket, he does talk about, I think, one of his siblings dying of poison for breakfast. So I think that that's what this is going to be about. There's only 158 pages. It's in the style of A Series of Unfortunate Events. The book is so tiny and it fits perfectly with the series that I have just right here. So I'm planning to read this all in one sitting, and I'm just super excited because it's been a long time since anything new has come out of this series. Once it was finished, that was like the end of this world, but I think now it seems like the author might be branching into some of the other characters that were mentioned. So I'm really excited. This is book 1. The second book that I plan to read is Gods and Monsters by Shelby Mahurin. I read Blood and Honey last month. This month, actually, sorry, I'm confused. It's like the 29th. And absolutely loved it. And there were so many cliffhangers at the end. Our story surrounds a witch and a chasseur who is like somebody who was part of a guard that hunts down witches, only he finds out that he has power. He's the son of one of the high-ranking witches. He falls in love with a witch. It's just so good. The like group that's formed, I love the ragtag misfits thrown together characters who you would never really think would associate with each other, but when they do, it's so great. And a sweet cinnamon roll character dies at the end of Blood and Honey, and when I was counting to see how many pages this was, I saw his name at the end of the book, and now I want to read it even more. So this is the next book that I plan to read, and the first 2 were 5 stars. I listened to them on Scribd along with reading them. I've already got the book downloaded, and I am so freaking excited. And from that little snippet at the end, I'm thinking this isn't the end. I'm thinking there might be a 4th book in this series, and that just makes me want to read this even more to figure out what happened. So this is book 2. I will have all of these books linked down below, by the way, so you can check them out on Goodreads. And I'm sorry that my glasses are getting shine on them from the window. Also, I made this sweater today, It's a graphic from Over the Garden Wall. My boyfriend and I watch it every year while we carve pumpkins. I got this sweater from Target. I have another one that's in like a darkish gray, and I made a Coraline sweater last year, so I thought that it was only fitting that for October I made another sweater, and I really love it. It's Wirt and his little brother as they are trekking through the forest, and then at the bottom you can kind of see the eyes for the like beast that hunts them and his horns. I just love that series so much. It's also one of my cousin's favorites. He's the one who actually introduced me to it. And I may or may not have bought this sweater in 3 other colors, so I don't know if I'm just going to leave them as they are or make more sweaters. But we'll see. On to the next book. Book 3 is The Atlas 6. This is like a secret society book. The very first line says, "The Alexandrian Society, caretakers of lost knowledge from the greatest civilizations of antiquity, are the foremost secret society of magical academicians in the world." So they're magicians and academians. I saw this in a like recommendations video from a Frolic through fiction. I'll link her down below as well. This was one of the ones that she talked about. I had money to spend at Barnes & Noble, so I purchased this, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Book 4 is The Corpse Queen, and it is also a book that was in that recommendation series. All I know about it, oh, this is by Heather Herman. All I know is that this girl goes to go live with her aunt who is rich, and she gets told that she can have whatever she wants in this life, but she has to be a grave robber, which, does that not sound amazing? Is that how her aunt is rich? Is this like a family thing? I don't know. Like I said, I had some money. I spent it at Barnes & Noble. I'm so looking forward to this book, and honestly just all of the books that I'm going to be reading this month. The spooky vibes, the like haunting and thrillers, and they're not super thrillers though because I don't read anything scary, honestly. But I'm so excited. Book 5 is Small Favors by Erin Craig. Her other book is House of Salt and Sorrow, which I read last year for October and absolutely loved. It was so good. Was it last October or the year before? I think it was the year before, because I remember listening to the audiobook and driving to go pick up lunch while I was at work, and I have not been into work in quite a while. So, but this is her other book. I don't know too much about it. The back says, "Enter not the forest deep. Beyond the bells the dark fiends keep." Her first book is about, it's like a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling, so I'm thinking this is going to be along the line, like similar, not the same story, but that it might just be like a gruesome retelling, and I loved House of Salt and Sorrow. It was so good, so I'm hoping that this will be also. Book 6 is A Lesson in Vengeance, which is by Victoria Lee. I don't know too much about this. This came in an Owl Crate subscription box, and it's got sprayed silver edges. I believe that there's like a card in here. Oh, it's signed by the author right here. Again, I don't know too much about it, but look at this cover. It is gorgeous. This is like an exclusive edition. Let's see what's on the inside. Ooh, the first word that popped out was witchcraft is woven. So this says, Felicity Morrow is back at the Dalloway School. Perched in the Catskill Mountains, the centuries-old ivy-covered campus was home until the tragic death of her girlfriend, Sapphic. We love it. Now, after a year away, she's returned to finish high school. She even has her old room in Godwin House, the exclusive dormitory, ruined to be haunted by the spirits of 5 Dalloway students. Girls some say were witches. The Dalloway 5 all died mysteriously, one after another, right on Godwin ground. That sounds so good. And again, I'm just here for the spooky, sapphic vibes right now. Book 6 on my TBR is The Nature of Witches. This is another book that was on that recommendations list from a Frolic Through Fiction. I've had it kind of like on my eye, hadn't really been ready to purchase because I have been trying to dwindle down the number of books that I have on my shelves. And then I went and bought 8 books, and I'm reading them all this month, so I'm not even reading books from before, but that's fine. So this is about witches who come into like the strength of their power during the season which they are connected to. So some witches are summer, some are fall, like that. And there is one witch who, I don't know what it's called, but she controls all of the seasons. It sounds really interesting. I read a book similar to this. The characters weren't witches, but they were people who controlled the seasons, and it was super interesting, so I'm looking forward to reading something a little bit similar to that. And the last book on my TBR is The Mermaid Moon by Susan Kokal. This was on my TBR for October. last year and I didn't read it. It is the bottom of my TBR. I love the sprayed edges, the cover and everything. It's gorgeous. It talks about like pirates and sirens, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's just a really thick book. The wording looks really small, so it hasn't been at the top of my priority, but since I picked so many books that I just recently bought, I tried to pick a book that I've had on my shelves for a while and just really needed to read, and I think this might be one of the oldest ones that I have, so this is on my list for this month. Those are all of the books that I plan on reading, but I did want to show you my bullet journal setup for how I'm going to be reading these books and completing them in October. So I have this set up, and as you can see, right here, these are all of the days of the month, and I went ahead and I listed how many pages per day I need to read of each book. There are code words, so PB is poison for breakfast, it's listed here, and then I also have a setup here so that I can mark how many pages I read and see like how it will look at the end of the month. If you want more in depth about how this system works, I highly suggest Marceline. I highly suggest going to Angie's page and checking out how she does it, because she does a really good job of explaining it, and she does her setup on her Instagram every single month, so you can see how she does it like in real time, because she films it. This system worked so well for me this month. I keep thinking that it's the next month, but it's still September. It has worked so well for me. Staying on a schedule, reading a set amount of pages has just made me feel so accomplished in my reading this month, and I think I'm going to be doing this every month from now on. I also want to adopt a reading journal. Simone and her books uses one, and it helps her with her reviews, and it's just kind of something that I want to try out. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!